Have you ever heard of a stuffed zucchini bread? Well, that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to start out and I'm going to show you how we make the streusel first for the topping. We're going to put in 3 tablespoonfuls of all-purpose flour. 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. And I'm just going to kind of mix that in. Okay, now if you mix your flour and your brown sugar together, it makes it much easier because you can get rid of any lumps or anything that you might have in your brown sugar. And to that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoonfuls of cold butter, and I've just cut those into little squares. And then with my hands, I'm just going to mix that in together. Okay, now I've got that butter worked in, and there's a few larger pieces, but it's pretty crumbly. It's coating your flour and your brown sugar. And I like that. I like the looks of that. Now you do not have to put this streusel topping on the top of your bread, but it just adds a little bit more to it, and I really like it. And now I'm going to add to this 1/3 cup of chopped pecans. Kind of work them in. And then I'm just going to set this aside. And the next thing I'm going to do is do another step, which is going to be for the inside of our bread. I have here 4 ounces of softened cream cheese. To that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of sugar, and I'm going to mix that in. Okay, that's mixed together really good. And to that, I'm going to add 1 large egg. Now you want to mix in between each one of these, just because it makes it smoother and it's easier to manage. Okay, and to that, 3 tablespoonfuls of all-purpose flour. And I'm just going to mix that in. And then we'll set that aside. And now for the bread part. I'm going to start out with 1 large egg. Beat that just a little bit, just to break up that yolk. And by the way, these eggs that I'm using, I have set them out on the counter for 30 minutes, so they'll be room temperature. To that, I'm going to add 1 cup sugar. And 1/4 cup of melted butter. I've melted and let that cool slightly. Mix that all in good. Now in my bowl here, I have, most people are going to use all zucchini in this recipe, but me, whenever I did my zucchini, I like making different things with it, like a little fried bread and stuff with it, but I mixed half and half, so I have half zucchini, half carrot in this, and I'm just going to measure out 1 cup. Now this was frozen, and so I have let it drain. I did not mash it to get out the moisture. I want it still moist, but I don't want a lot of liquid in there. And I'm going to measure out 1 cup. I'm going to put the rest of that in there. There's not very much, and you know what? I guess that's pretty good whenever I put those in the little packets to freeze. And I'm just going to now empty that into my liquid mixture. Stir that in. We want it even, so I've got carrot and zucchini all throughout there. Now you can use, with this recipe, you can use all carrot or you can use all zucchini. I'm using a little bit of both. Here in my measuring cup, I have 1 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. And to that, I am going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And I'm going to give it a nice hefty bit. And 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Baking powder, I'm going to put in 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. One half teaspoon of salt. And baking soda in the amount of 1/2 teaspoon. That needed just a tad bit more. All right. Now, we're just going to empty that into our wet ingredients and mix. Okay, now that's a fairly thick batter. And to that, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of our pecans. You can use any kind of nut. If you prefer walnut, you can use walnut. You can chop up almonds. But I just like cooking with pecans. And I'm going to mix that in there. Okay. Here I have my 9-inch bread pan, and I have sprayed it with olive oil. And I'm going to put about half of that mixture in the pan. And just kind of spread that out over to the edges. Now this will not be a real tall one. If you used an 8-inch pan, it would be a little taller bread, but that's not the object of this recipe. Okay. Now as it cooks, it'll fill in a little bit over there around the edge. Now we're going to take the mixture that we made a while ago with the cream cheese. And I'm just going to scoop in about 1/8, and I'm just going to place it here and there on my dough. You all like cheesecake, don't you? We want it to be even, so we're making sure we have enough to go all the way across. I don't want to spread this around a lot. I want to just sort of drop it on there. And then we're going to put the rest of our dough on there. Now with this is when you definitely have to drop it, because you cannot spread it around on a thin piece of the filling. Okay, I've got that spread out. Now you can see there's a little edge around there, and we should be good with that because that has flour in it and it's gonna cook. Now on top of that, I'm gonna put all of this crumbly streusel that we made, and now into a 350-degree oven for anywhere from 50 to 60 minutes. Okay, for our oven it has been 55 minutes, and we're just gonna get that out. Oh, it's a nice golden brown on top. I don't know if you can see that. Now, since this has the cream cheese that's in the center, you can use a toothpick toothpick method to see if your cake part is done, but actually just kind of getting the old sponge test, I think they'll work for this one. Now I'm going to cool it completely in the pan, and that's because of the difference in texture that you've got in the pan. And let this cool about 45 minutes to an hour, and we'll get back with you. Okay, my bread has set for about 45 minutes and it's cool to the touch. I'm going to run a knife just around the edge of it. Even when it looks like it has come loose really good, I still like to have that little extra help. Going to turn that out onto my plate. Oh, and it come out just beautiful. Look at that. It's wonderful. I'm going to turn it over though, because that top's pretty on the top. Okay. Look at me with my knife all ready. See what that looks like on the inside? Look at the cream cheese. Ooh, cream cheese pockets. Love it. Give this one a try. I think you'll like it.